The Valerian Empire's diplomatic cruiser emerged from hyperspace in a flash of purple light. The enormous vessel, called the Eternal Domination, was the size of a small city. Its dark metal hull was covered in symbols of conquest. Skulls from 100 different species decorated its walls. It was intentional. The ship was designed to instill fear in other species. Ambassador Kellex stood in the main chamber, preparing himself. He was 2.5 meters tall. He was covered in dark green scales and had eyes like burning embers. He wore ceremonial ribbons crossed across his chest. Each ribbon represented a species that had surrendered to the Empire. He had 47 ribbons. He was very proud of that number. "Are the humans ready?" he asked his aide. "Yes, Ambassador. They are waiting in berth 7. Kellex nodded. He had done this 847 times before. Well, his people had. The Valerian Empire had been conquering species for 12,000 years. They had a system, it always worked. First, they arrived in an impressive ship. Second, they gave an intimidating speech. Third, the other species surrendered. Simple, he walked toward the docking bay with his guards. They, too, were tall and covered in scales. They carried weapons that glowed with red energy. Everything about them screamed danger. Everything about them said, "Be afraid." The bay doors opened. Kellex stepped forward, ready to meet the primitive humans. He had read the reports. The humans were young, barely 300 years in space. They controlled only 47 systems. This should be easy, but something was wrong. The humans weren't cowering, weren't trembling, they were standing calmly near their small shuttle, drinking from strange vessels. They wore simple blue jumpsuits, no armor, no weapons, no formal robes. One of them, a woman with dark hair tied back, waved to him. "Hello, you must be the Valorians. Come in, come in." Kellex was confused, but he pressed on. He stood at his full height. He opened his arms wide, trying to appear as large as possible. His guards took up positions behind him. The lights automatically dimmed, adding to the dramatic effect. "I am Ambassador Kellex. Of the Empire," Valerian began in a deep, booming voice. "We are the conquerors of galaxies. We are the masters of 1,000 worlds. We have brought 847 species under our dominion. For 12,000 years, we have spread across the stars, unstoppable and eternal." He paused for effect. Usually, this was when species began to panic, but the humans looked at each other. One of them, a gray-haired man, covered his mouth with his hand. His shoulders trembled. Kellex continued. "Your species is young, weak. You cannot resist us, but we are merciful. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to exist as part of our empire. If you refuse, you will be destroyed. They have a standard cycle for deciding." He finished his speech. He stood erect, waiting for fear, waiting for pleas, waiting for the inevitable surrender. Instead, the human made a strange, high-pitched sound. He tried to stifle it, but couldn't, and then he began to laugh. The gray-haired man joined in, then another human, and then everyone. Within seconds, the entire human delegation was laughing. Some were doubled over with laughter, one was wiping tears from his eyes. Kellex stood motionless. In 12,000 years of the Empire's history, this had never happened. Not once. "Sorry," the human said between laughs. "Sorry, really, but you guys are adorable." "Adorable," Kellex repeated. He hadn't known that word in the context of conquest. "Yeah," another human said, still laughing. All this, the skull ship, the dramatic lighting, the "we are unstoppable" speech. It's like watching children playing pretend. "We thought it was a joke," the gray-haired human added. "Like a historical reenactment or something. You guys look like you came from a Renaissance fair." Kellex felt something he'd never felt in a first encounter. He felt offended. This isn't a joke. We are the Valerian Empire. We've conquered 847 species. Yes, we heard you the first time, the human said, trying to compose herself. She took a deep breath. Look, I'm Captain Sarah Chen. This is my diplomatic team, and I'm trying my best to be professional. But you need to understand what this looks like to us. What does it look like? Kellex asked, as coldly as a theme park ride, Sarah said. I mean, the skulls, the shiny weapons, the surrender or die ultimatum. We have movies with villains less cliché than this. We're not a cliché, Kellex roared. We're feared throughout the galaxy. That only made the humans laugh harder. Sarah threw up her hands. Okay. Sorry. You're clearly serious. Let me get this straight. You came here to make us surrender. Yes. And they've done this to 847 other species. Correct. Yes. And they all surrendered in the end. Yes. Sarah looked at her team and then at Kellex. Oh, my. You have no idea what you've gotten yourselves into. What do you mean? Kellex demanded. Sarah took a sip from her cup. It smelled of coffee. Tell me something. How many of those species did you have to really fight, like, really fight? Not just intimidate. Kellex thought about it. Maybe 50. Most surrender when they see our power. Aha. And how long did those wars last? The longest lasted 12 years. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay. And you think that makes you impressive? It makes us the greatest empire in known space, Kellex said. Known space. According to whom? Sarah asked. According to you, we've explored. You've explored beyond the Perseus arm, Sarah interrupted. No, but the Sagittarius arm, those regions, the galactic core. Kellex stopped. The galactic core. It's impossible to explore. The radiation alone would kill any living thing. We have 3 research stations there, Sarah said casually. We've been there for 50 years. Kellex stared at her. That was impossible. Look, Sarah said, her tone more serious. I'm going to give you some advice. And I really hope you listen. Go home. Forget you ever met us. Tell your empire that humanity isn't worth it. Please, is that a threat? Kellex asked. No, Sarah said quietly. It's a warning. You came expecting to find prey. Instead, you found something else. Something you're not prepared for. You have 47 systems, Kellex said. We have thousands. You can't threaten us. We're not threatening you, the gray-haired human said. He wasn't laughing anymore. He almost looked sad. We're trying to protect you. To protect ourselves. Kellex couldn't believe it. You're primitive. You have no military presence. Your fleets are tiny. Yes, Sarah said. Do you know why our army is so small? Because they're weak. Sarah shook her head. No, because we don't need it. We haven't fought a real war in 200 years. Then they've softened, Kellex said triumphantly. They've forgotten how to fight. The humans looked at each other. Several made sad, bitter sounds. That's what we hoped for, Sarah said quietly. We really hoped we'd forgotten, but if you push this, we'll find out if it's true. And frankly, that scares us more than it should scare you. Kellex had had enough of this strange conversation. They have 1 cycle to surrender. After that, we'll return with our fleet. He turned and walked toward his ship. His guards followed. He heard Sarah say something to her team. Get me a line to Earth. We have to warn them. The Empire doesn't know what's starting. And as the bay doors closed, Kellex looked back one last time. The humans weren't laughing anymore. Now they were serious, worried. Good, he thought. They finally understand, but deep in his mind, a small voice whispered a question he couldn't answer. Why would they be worried about us? Kelek appeared before the Supremacy Council on the Imperial Throne World. The chamber was enormous, carved from black stone. 12 counselors sat on raised seats arranged in a semicircle. Each represented a different species that had joined the Empire. Whether willingly or by conquest, Supreme Commander Bormsch sat in the center. He was older than Kelek's, his scales having turned almost black with age. His eyes were pale, like dying stars. You allowed them to mock you, Bormak said. His voice sounded like rocks being crushed. They didn't understand, Kelek began. They understood perfectly, interrupted Counselor Thick, a female with bright red scales. They disrespected you, rejected your offer, laughed at the Empire. We should crush them, Counselor Jack said. A young male known for his aggression. Make an example. Hold on. Counselor Solace said. She was the oldest on the council, her scales almost white. The humans warned us. They said we weren't ready. What did they mean? Kelek hesitated. I don't know. But there was something in their eyes. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even anger. It was, he struggled to find the word sadness, as if they pitied us. Pity us. Jack slammed his fist against the arm of his chair. These primitives dare to pity the Valerian Empire. Tell us everything, Bormsch ordered. Every detail of the encounter. Kelek recounted the meeting. The laughter. The casual disdain for the Empire's threats. Sarah Chen's warnings. The mention of research stations in the Galactic Core. When he finished, the council fell silent. They're lying, Thrix finally said. No species can survive in the Galactic Core. It's impossible. Our explorers confirmed their claim, Kelek said quietly. We detected 3 stations, all active, all heavily armored. More silence. How? Solace asked. How did they develop such technology? Unknown. Their public technology seems primitive. Simple fusion engines, conventional weapons. But if the core stations are real, then they're hiding something, Bormak concluded. The question is, what does it matter? Jax asked. They have 47 systems, we have thousands. Even if they have some advanced armor technology, we outnumber them by a mile. The ambassador mentioned something else, said Counselor Korn, who had been silent until now. The humans said they haven't fought a war in 200 years. That's true. KX checked his data tablet. According to all available intelligence. Yes, the last major human conflict was their civil war approximately 230 years ago. Since then, nothing, minor skirmishes with pirates, but no real war. You see. Jack said. They softened, they forgot how to fight. This will be easier than we thought. Or, Solace said slowly. They chose to stop fighting. There's a difference between forgetting and choosing. What difference does it make? Thrix asked. A species that forgets how to fight is weak, Solace explained. A species that chooses not to fight despite remembering. That's something else entirely. You're reading too much into it, Jack said. They're trying to intimidate us with mystery. It's a bluff, perhaps, Bormak said. But we won't be reckless. Kelek, you'll lead the invasion fleet. It has 500 warships. Overwhelming force. If they surrender, we accept. If they resist, we crush them quickly. What if they were telling the truth? Kelek asked. What if we're getting ourselves into something dangerous? Bormak's eyes narrowed. Then we'll see what happens when an unstoppable empire meets an immovable defense. In any case, humanity will learn its place. The council voted. It was unanimous. War against humanity. As Kellex left the chamber, Solace caught up with him. "Ambassador," he said softly, "I have lived a long time. I have seen many conquered species, but I have never seen any mourn their conquerors with such sorrow." "What are you saying?" Kellex asked. "I'm saying that Sarah Chen wasn't lying. She really was trying to protect us." Solace looked at him with ancient eyes. "The question is, what do they know that we don't?" Kellex had no answer. 3 days later, the Valerian invasion fleet assembled in space near the human border. 500 warships. The pride of the Empire, the greatest military force ever assembled for a single conquest. On the bridge of his flagship, the eternal judge Kellex watched as the fleet organized itself. Everything was going according to plan. "Sir," said his tactical officer. "We've detected a transmission from human space. It's being broadcast on all frequencies. Please display it." Sarah Chen's face appeared. She looked tired. Sad. Valerian Fleet said, "I know you can hear this. Please turn back. You're making a terrible mistake. We don't want this war." "Then surrender," Kellex said, though she couldn't hear him. "We've sent all our civilian ships away," Sarah continued. "We've evacuated our border systems. We're giving you every opportunity to reconsider, but if you continue, if you cross into our space, we will defend ourselves, and you won't like what happens next." The transmission ended. "He's still bluffing," Jack said. "He had insisted on joining the fleet personally, trying to scare us with empty threats, maybe," Kellex said, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. "All ships reporting ready," the tactical officer announced. "Begin the invasion," Kellex ordered. The fleet advanced, crossing into human space. For the first hour, nothing happened. The border systems were empty, just as Sarah had said, no ships, no defenses, nothing. "See," Jack said. "They ran away in the end." Yes, they were cowards, but Kellex felt no relief. Where were they? Why abandon those systems without a fight? The answer came when they reached the third system. "Sir, we detected multiple contacts, human warships emerging from behind the moon." "How many?" Kellex demanded. 5. "No. 10. 15. The tactical officer's voice turned uncertain. "Sir, they keep appearing. I count at least 50 ships now. 50 against 500. Jax laughed. "This will be over quickly, sir. The human ships aren't attacking, they're just there." Still. Kellex studied the screen. The human ships were arranged and they formed a defensive formation, but they didn't move. They weren't carrying weapons. They just waited. A transmission came in. It was Sarah Chen again, but this time she was wearing what looked like a military uniform. Behind her, Kellex caught a glimpse of a ship's bridge. Valerian Fleet. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force speaking. You are violating human territorial space. Withdraw immediately or we will be forced into combat." "Admiral," Kellex said. 3 days ago she was a diplomat, probably a reserve commissioner, his intelligence officer suggested. Many human diplomats have military backgrounds. Kellex opened a channel. "Admiral Chen. We outnumber you 10 to 1. Surrender now and your people will be spared." Sarah's expression didn't change. "I'm giving you one last chance. Ambassador Kellex. Turn around, please. You can't win this fight." "I know." Sarah's voice was gentle. "We're not trying to win, Ambassador. We're trying to avoid being forced into a fight. There's a difference. Your riddles don't they mean nothing. Last chance. Surrender or be destroyed." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were hard, cold, all ships, weapons at bay. May God forgive us for what we are about to do. The human ships opened fire, and the world of Kelix descended into chaos. The first Valerian ship to die was the Crimson Aurora, a heavy cruiser on the left flank of the fleet. One moment it was there. The next it simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, it vanished. What? Kelix began, but another ship disappeared. Then another, sir. Human weapons. The tactical officer's voice. It was pure panic now. They aren't using conventional weapons. Our sensors can't even identify the energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen. All ships. Return fire. Jax shouted. The Valerian fleet unleashed everything it had. Plasma cannons, missiles, particle beams. The firepower that had conquered 847 species was useless. The human ships had shields that absorbed everything. Valerian weapons impacted and dissipated like rain against a force field. How is this possible? Kelix whispered. Another transmission from Sarah. I'm sorry, Ambassador. I'm truly sorry. Her voice was heavy with regret. Cease fire. All ships, precision strikes only. Disable their engines, not their life support. We're not trying to kill them. They're not trying to kill us, Jack said. We've already lost 20 ships, sir. Analyzing the attack pattern, the intelligence officer said, his voice trembling. They're targeting specific systems, engines, weapons, communications, but they're deliberately avoiding the crew sections. They're trying to capture our ships intact. Then Kelix understood. The humans weren't trying to destroy them, they were trying to end the fight as quickly as possible with minimal casualties, which meant they could destroy the entire fleet if they wanted. Every single ship. Withdraw, Kelix ordered. Emergency jump. Yes, but, sir, Jax protested. Yes. The Valerian fleet they scattered, jumping to hyperspace in a chaotic and disorganized retreat. They left behind 73 disabled ships with their crews still alive, but their hulls were dead in space. As the Eternal Judgment executed its emergency jump, Kelix saw a final message from Sarah Chen. We will take care of your people, Ambassador. We are not monsters, but please do not return. Do not force us to do this again. In the following days, Kelix learned the truth. The 73 captured ships and their crews had been returned to Valerian space unharmed. The humans had repaired their life support systems, given them medical attention, and even fed them. They treated their prisoners with more care than the Valerian Empire treated its own conquered subjects. It was humiliating, but worse was the report Kelix had to present to the Supremacy Council. We lost 70 ships and 3 vessels without destroying a single human ship, he said. The words tasted like ash. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their weapons can erase matter from existence. Their shields are impenetrable, and they were holding back. Holding back. Bornch asked. Could they have destroyed the entire fleet? Instead, they disabled and captured ships. Admiral Chen's exact words were, "We are not trying to kill them." They fought a battle with the objective of inflicting the least possible damage while still achieving a decisive victory. Solace chimed in because they didn't want war in the first place. They wanted to prove a point, not exterminate us. The point is, we can't win, Jack said bitterly. No, Kelix said. The point is, they don't want to fight, but if we force them, they'll win. Easy. And they'll still try to minimize casualties because that's just who they are. This is unacceptable, Thrix said. We are the Valerian Empire. We cannot be defeated by a species with only 40 members and 7 systems. So, what do you suggest? Solace asked. The council was silent. Finally, Bornch spoke. We mobilized the full might of the Empire. Every ship, every weapon. We can't let this stand. That's suicide, Kelix said. They didn't hear my briefing. They have weapons that can erase ships from existence, shields we can't penetrate, and they were being merciful. If we attack with everything, they might decide to stop being merciful. So what do you want us to do? Bormak demanded. Surrender, accept defeat, become the laughingstock of the galaxy. We already are, Solace said quietly. The moment we attacked and failed, we proved the humans right. They warned us, we didn't listen. And now 847 species are watching to see what the mighty Valerian Empire does when faced with something it cannot conquer. Kellex was in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Judgment, poring over data files he had requested from the Empire's intelligence division, information on humanity, their history, their culture, trying to understand who these people were and why they fought the way they did. What he found terrified him more than their weapons. The human species had spent most of its existence fighting amongst itself. Their homeworld had seen countless wars. Thousands of them had developed increasingly devastating weapons, each more terrible than the last. Biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons capable of destroying entire cities, and then, 230 years ago, they stopped. Not because they had forgotten how to fight. The records made that clear. They still maintained small military forces, still trained soldiers, still they developed new technologies, but they stopped waging wars. Why? Kellex kept reading. He found accounts of human philosophy, debates about the ethics of war, discussions about the cost of violence, and slowly he began to understand. Humans didn't stop fighting because they were weak. They stopped because they knew exactly how good they were at it, and that scared them. There was a quote from one of their ancient philosophers that Kellex read 3 times, trying to grasp its meaning: we wage war so that we can live in peace. They fought to end fighting. They became excellent at war to make war obsolete. And when they finally achieved peace, they clung to it desperately, because they knew what they were capable of if they let it go. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in. It was his intelligence officer, Karn, a young male with bright green scales. Sir, I think you should see this. We've been monitoring human communications, intercepting their newscasts, and they're not celebrating their victory, sir. They're mourning. Kellex glanced at the data tablet Karn held out to him. He lay down. It was showing a human news report. The reporter was speaking in a somber tone about the tragic necessity of the violence and showing images of human soldiers. But those soldiers weren't celebrating. They looked tired, scarred. This is a memorial service, Karn explained. For the Valerian soldiers who died in battle. The humans are holding memorial services for our dead. That's Kellex. He was speechless. There's more, sir. The human government has issued formal apologies to the families of every Valerian who died. They're offering compensation. Medical care for the wounded. They're treating this as a tragedy they caused, not a victory they won. Kellex put down the tablet. Really, they didn't want this war. No, sir. And now they're afraid they'll have to keep fighting. Here's a poll. 78% of humans want to pursue peace talks. They're terrified of what might happen if the war continues. Do they have any of us? No, sir, Kan's voice was low. They're afraid of themselves, of what they might become if they continue fighting. Kellex thought of Sarah Chen's sad eyes. Her warnings, her desperate plea for them to turn back. She had known. She had known exactly what would happen and had tried to prevent it. And they had forced her to do the very thing she was trying to avoid. Karn, Kellex said slowly, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find out everything you can about human military doctrine. Their strategies, their capabilities, everything, sir. Intelligence, no longer. Not what they showed us in battle. I want to know what they didn't show us, what they kept to themselves. I need to know what we're really up against if this war continues. Karn hesitated. Sir, are you sure you want to know? No, but I need to anyway. 3 days later, Karen returned with a report that chilled Kellex to the bone. The weapons humans had used in the battle, the ones that could erase ships from existence, were called quantum disruptors. They worked